Meanwhile, House Intel Committee Chairman Devin Nunes blasting the Justice Department and the FBI for failing to produce documents related to the anti-Trump dossier. Nunes says Congress is being stonewalled. Reaction now from House Intel Committee member Republican Chris Stewart. Congressman, what do you think they're trying to hide?
Oh, my gosh. You know, that's the great question. And the fact is they have been, way less than forthcoming. Let me just back up a little bit to remind the American people the central issue. I was in Moscow the summer before the election. I came home and I said hundreds of times, they're going to mess with our election. They're going to mess. And people would ask and say, well, who do they want to win? I said, they don't care. They just want to break down faith in democracy, break down faith in our institutions and the democratic process. And that's very clear. But they could have only been able to do that if in some cases we helped them. And unfortunately, what many of us are seeing now is that senior people in the FBI and Department of Justice played into their hands and were actually, I think, conspiratorial and accomplices in this. And it's something we've really just got to understand better than we do now.
What we're seeing, Congressman, is that there were at least 4 people that have been highlighted, and I'm sure there are more than that as well. But there's Bruce Orr and his wife, by the way, who were in the Justice Department. He was very high up in justice, and he was pushing the Trump dossier. His wife, of course, worked for the organization that produced it. Andrew McCabe, the assistant FBI director, it was clear that he had been at least talking to people like Peter Strzok, who mentioned some of their conversations with his girlfriend at the FBI, suggesting that perhaps they have some insurance policy. And then even James Baker, although he's denied it now, the former general counsel for the FBI, I mean, he was apparently pushing the Trump dossier, too. So there did seem, I mean, conspiracy's a very specific, tough word. It has certain legal connotations. Do you think it's too early to use that word?
I don't know that it is, actually, and I want to know, and we want to insist on Department of Justice being more forthcoming in this information that they have continued to withhold from us. And something else you said, the dossier, for example. Look, anyone who reads that, it's absolute hogwash, and yet the FBI continues to stand behind it. I talked with Mr. McCabe, the deputy director of the FBI, last week. And I asked him, do you stand by this document? And we know that it's not true. And his answer to that is just stunning. And for the American people to have, as you said, these 4 senior people. And by the way, the FBI and the DOJ, full of great people who are trying to do their job and serve the American people. And they're not left-leaning organizations. Why is it that these individuals who had such strong and powerful feelings about their own politics, how is it that they were given these positions of responsibility?
Well, Congressman, let me just ask one question, though, that really has been bothering a lot of people, is whether this dossier, which you described was very flawed in all kinds of ways, whether it was used in order to obtain a FISA warrant that was then used to spy on the Trump campaign by either the FBI or maybe working with the DNC. The president himself, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, has the power and authority to release documents related to a FISA warrant. Couldn't he open the books on that and give us a view?
Yeah, I think he could. Technically, he could. Legally, he could. But I think politically it's difficult. But I would encourage him to. But frankly, the House Intel Committee and the Congress itself is going to undertake our own endeavor to release that information. And it should be released. I mean, once again, if the dossier was used, something that is, its veracity is just, it's just unquestionably hogwash. And if that thing was used to initiate an investigation, not on just some random person, but on the individual who was the candidate for the major political party, the political party that many of these individuals have expressed very clearly they did not support. They considered him loathsome, in their words.
Let me go back to my panel. Forgive me, Congressman. I just want to ask Mary, why do you think the president doesn't release information related to whether there was a FISA warrant based on the Trump dossier?
Well, why doesn't the FBI director do it, David? Christopher Wray testified in front of Congress and refused to answer questions that legally he should have answered. It would be very easy to clear all this up. There's still a lot of question marks. Who compiled not just who compiled the dossier, we know that that was Fusion GPS, but who took that dossier to the FBI, who within the FBI took it to the FISA court and vouched for it, who was listened to, why is it that Hillary Clinton's aides were given different treatment at the FBI than Michael Flynn was given? A lot of question marks here. And David, you know, the FBI can clear this up very quickly by simply coming clean, and hopefully we're going to see that next year.
Congressman, I don't assume you were satisfied with some of the answers you got from Mr. McCabe. What about specifically the ones where he wouldn't explain certain things about where the information went, whether or not the FBI paid Mr. Steele or anybody at Fusion related to the Trump dossier, et cetera?
So all those questions we need to ask. We need to tell the American people we know the answers to those questions. And let me illustrate with just one example.
Quickly,
I asked Mr. McCabe again and again, tell me anything within this dossier that you now know is true. And he could not answer that question, or he refused to answer that question. That is an indication of how they have been stonewalling and obstructing. And we're going to get to the bottom of this.
I think he answered one of those questions. He said the only thing that he could verify was that Carter Page was in Russia. That was it.
Yeah,
he wouldn't be more specific than that.
And it wasn't that they haven't tried to verify the contents of the dossier. It's that there's nothing in it that's true.
Okay. We got to leave it at that. Congressman Stewart, thank you very much.
Thank you.